We can begin meditation by establishing the mindfulness of the body as the basis for our meditation. So it can be helpful to begin by simply recognizing the sensations of the feet or the buttocks on the floor or the cushion. The sensation of the earth supporting us from below. And then rising up from that support, from that base, is the upright column of the spine. Bringing that to our awareness and allowing the spine to extend to its natural upright length. We can imagine a fine string gently lifting the top of the head. And then allowing the rest of the body to relax around this central axis. And as we come into the experience of the body, we can notice the sensations of in and out breathing. Letting those become prominent in the mind. We can be aware of where the sensation of the breath is most prominent and most comfortable, whether that's the abdomen, the chest, the throat, or the nostrils. What does the experience of breathing in, breathing out feel like? It'd be helpful to choose one particular place. to stay there. And then, as the breath becomes more comfortable in that space, without losing attention, without losing the focus there, we can gradually become aware of the energetic sensation of the breath, which is not the same as the physical movements. So we might feel the belly rising and falling with each breath. But there can be an awareness of the entire body energizing and brightening on the in-breath and settling and soothing with the out-breath. And the physical sensations of the breath and the energetic experience are, they're not fully separate, but they're not completely the same either. Because only the belly moves, or the feet generally don't move much when we breathe. But we can still be aware that, even the feet and the hands feel energized on the in-breath. And it can be helpful to recognize that if the mind is dull or sluggish, paying more attention to the energizing qualities of the in-breath can help to remedy that. Similarly, if the mind is restless or agitated, paying more attention to the soothing quality of the out-breath is recommended. And so we can practice like this for the next 10 minutes. if the mind has wandered. Gently bring it back to the experience of in and out breathing. And we can be aware of thinking and thoughts happen quite frequently in meditation. The mind does this. If you expect the mind to stop thinking as soon as you start meditating, you're just going to suffer. It doesn't do that. Grounding the mind in the experience of the in and out breathing can help to give us perspective on the thinking process. One can observe that there are different modes of thinking that feel different in the body and have different results. We can become completely lost in thought, and we typically lose mindfulness of the breath at this point. We abandon the breath completely because we're enchanted by whatever we're thinking about. And when this happens, when we notice this, the meditation practice is to drop those thoughts and bring the attention back to the breath. But there's another mode of thinking where the thoughts coexist with the breath. We're aware of the breath and the mind thinking about something. This can give us perspective on the thinking process itself, recognizing that just that, thinking is a process. And this process arises at particular times and for particular reasons. And there's actually no necessary reason to believe that what we're thinking is true or that it's the best representation of reality. Or, sometimes it's somewhat helpful, sometimes it's completely useless. And it's still a thought, just the same. And if we're able to stay with that experience of the body, breathing in and out, that gives us an anchor. Even if it is a useless thought, it arises and ceases. Okay, that one's not very helpful, but I'm still breathing. So we can investigate like this for another 5 minutes or so. So if the mind is completely lost in thinking, gently bring it back to the experience of in and out breathing. Ajahn Chah once said that the quickest way to enlightenment was to point right at the thoughts, head on, and say, liar. Fairly strong. Perhaps a gentler version would be not sure. Uncertain. We think about the future and we get caught in it. And how often does the future we're imagining actually happen like that? We think about the past, absolutely sure we have the right interpretation. But then a few days later, we reimagine the past in some other way, with a different perspective, get new information about it. And yet we still find these narratives of past and future and who I am and who they are, we still find them compelling. We keep falling for them. So there is both an intellectual component to this. There's the actual belief that these things are true, and we haven't always questioned that. And then there's an emotional component to it as well. We're looking for stability. So even if we don't actually know what's going to happen in the future, we're worried, so we fill in the gaps. We pretend the future is certain when it's not. And that's coming from an emotional need rather than a realistic assessment of the way things work. So this practice of mindfulness of breathing can help with both. It provides an anchor, something we can track and check. Okay, are we actually with the breath right now? And that anchor also helps shore up our emotional state. After we've paid attention to breathing in and out for a while, the mind and body are often can experience some happiness and tranquility. And when the mind is happy, glowing with well-being, then we don't feel the same compulsion to believe in those thoughts or to try to find something in the future that's going to be fulfilling, because of a non-conceptual fulfillment right here. We just can rest in that. One reflection we can consider is just how certain we can be about whether we're breathing in or breathing out right now. When you're breathing in, is there any doubt you're breathing out or in? We know. It's not an intellectual kind of knowing. It doesn't require much thought. Certainly we're not going to let anybody else argue that, well, they say, you experience, I'm breathing in, and they say, you're breathing out. You don't get to decide that. So, that's a level of certainty. And then we can compare that with how certain we are about, what's going to happen tomorrow. Or that we have the right idea, that we actually know who that person is, or who we are. Is that perception of, no, that's a lot less certain than that direct knowing of breathing in and out. So if we take that as our measure, then maybe our thoughts really are liars. Certainly not as reliable as direct experience. So we can continue to practice and reflect like this for another 5 minutes. So if the mind is caught up in thinking, gently bring it back to the experience of in and out breathing. If the mind has stayed with the breath, be aware of the effect of that. Mindfulness of the direct experience of the present moment is a refuge, a safe place. Something that we can make more dependable than the circumstances of the world outside. And this provides confidence that yes, the Buddha was pointing to something that can be directly experienced by people who, to be directly experienced by the discerning, those who put forth consistent effort to investigate the present moment. And we can, that faith or confidence arises, that in turn can lead to joy and energy, which in turn make the mind more inclined to settle. And thus we have a feedback loop of positive qualities developing in meditation. And so as we near the end of this meditation session, it can be helpful to recollect what we found helpful, what we might want to investigate more in the future. And what we found confusing. We think, didn't quite understand that. Maybe ask somebody about it later on. And then also to recollect just the contribution that stillness has to offer for ourselves and for the world. When the mind is in a still and peaceful place, we can be present for the suffering and the happiness of the world, of the people in our lives, without having our own stuff getting in the way. And so in this way, practicing meditation, we can regard it as a gift to everyone. And this can brighten and gladden the mind.